absolutely thrilled to be here today to talk to you about one of Canada's most exciting industries. Emblem is a medium-sized licensed producer based in Paris, Ontario, but I would say we're a health and wellness company. Our founders were rooted in the pharmaceutical and medical sectors, and our president, Nick Dean, upon that foundation has built what I call a world-class pharmaceutical executive team. We have an asset-light infrastructure, and what I mean by that is we don't believe the future of medical cannabis is in agriculture. We believe the future of medical cannabis is in innovative medical products that healthcare professionals, payers, and patients can take and utilize that are familiar to them, that have formulations and delivery systems similar to many of the ones developed by many of your teams in the room. We're investing heavily in a product innovation excellence center in beautiful Paris, Ontario. We believe that the Canadian market and the international market is looking for products that are backed by world-class research and development. Our extended release tablet, which we're formulating in Paris, Ontario, in a new awesome GMP laboratory, is going to be one of those products that's going to change the game. Something that is familiar to them, something that payers can get behind. There will be data behind that tablet that patients, we believe, will be a game changer for them. The use of cannabis for medical purposes is truly nothing short of a revolution. I know that when I left my previous job, one of my colleagues who may be in the room today said, you know, you're going into a place where this is a revolution, right? And I said, you bet, that's why I'm going. And this disruptive revolution was driven by Canadians who wanted another solution to their health and wellness goals. They wanted something else. Veterans who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, parents of patients with chronic illnesses, and cancer patients said, we need help, and we need something else. And cannabis might be a solution for that, and the Supreme Court of Canada listened. I believe that no one feels this disruption more than healthcare professionals and patients. Cannabis has disrupted the healthcare system. And there's a sacred place in that healthcare system. It's the physician and patient relationship. And cannabis has disrupted that relationship. When something doesn't follow a traditional path, it makes all of us uncomfortable. Cannabis has made all of us and Canada incredibly uncomfortable. When something doesn't follow that linear path, we're not really sure what to do. We don't have guidance to navigate us. We can't look outside of our borders. We are the first G7 country to have 2 legal streams of cannabis. And so it's been very challenging. And when disruptors aren't linear, there's some really awesome things that happen from disruptors. Great innovation can happen. 1 week ago today, Canada lifted a 95-year ban on the recreational use of cannabis. I cannot help but think of the Indiana Jones movie. Okay, so there's millennials in the room, right? Oh dear. Okay, so there was this movie where this really cool guy, played by Harrison Ford, when Indiana Jones was running, remember the big cement ball that was chasing Indiana down and Indiana was in front of that ball? I feel like that's a metaphor to the path towards legalization of cannabis. And with that a huge accomplishment last week, I think there's an opportunity for a pause. And in that pause lies further opportunity, and I think we all should need to take a collective pause. The question I get asked most often is, what will happen to the medical stream of cannabis once recreation is available and you can buy it at retail outlets or online? And my answer to that is, it just gets better. And the reason that the medical stream of cannabis gets better is a few reasons. 1, robust research. For those of you who have any knowledge of the cannabis research, most of that has been done with a formulation of smoking or inhalation. Just think of all the quality research that can take place with products that don't include smoking. I want to let this audience know every single university in this country has got a cannabis file and a cannabis research program, which is incredibly exciting. The other thing that happens is patients and individuals who are looking for this as an option, it helps to demystify cannabis for patients. They get to go and have a conversation with their healthcare professional where before they were perhaps reluctant. The other thing that's happening, and it's incredible, is that Manulife and Sun Life are leading the way as insurers who are covering cannabis as part of their medical health plans. It's incredible, and they're taking a leadership role in that area. The other opportunity that's happened, and this has been in the news quite a bit recently, is we're having an amazing conversation finally about driving impaired. And I'm not talking about driving impaired just with cannabis or alcohol. We're talking about cognitive impairment with other substances and other diseases. This is an incredibly important conversation. So, how do people navigate two legal streams of cannabis in Canada? Recently, a 72-year-old woman who is suffering from significant arthritic symptoms called our customer care line and said, "I tried cannabis and I had this amazing symptom relief. How do I get into a system? How do I get into the healthcare system?" And we were able to help her, of course, get into the system because she had positive relief. Hundreds and thousands of patients similar to this woman are going to need expert guidance, care, and education to navigate this system. I want to pause and thank all the physicians, nurses, and pharmacists who have guided patients over the last 3 or 4 years in medical cannabis and using that as a treatment option. At the moment, all of you know this has been quite vocal in the news. The Canadian Medical Association believes there should only be one stream for medical cannabis and not a medical stream. On the other hand, Canadian Pharmacists Association and the Canadian Nurses Association take an opposing view. They feel that it's important to continue to have two streams for medical cannabis. The conversation about medical cannabis in Canada and physicians is critically important. The collaboration between physicians in this environment is absolutely essential, or patients will not receive the optimal and integrated care that is needed. Not all members of the Canadian Medical Association feel this way. Of course, we work with dedicated physicians every day and every week, but we do know collectively that that's their feeling at this time. For Emblem and other licensed producers, we have a responsibility and duty of care to patients. If we all plan to stay, or some of us who plan to stay in the medical space, we have a duty of care to educate healthcare professionals, do research, and provide high-quality product in a safe and responsible way. We've all heard the news about the cannabis industry. Some of that news is fantastic, some of it's kind of crappy media, and there's everything in between. And what we do need to do is stay focused on who started the revolution, and patients started the revolution. Our colleague Catherine made a really great point around seeing patients all the same, and how pharma, we saw patients all the same in therapeutic areas and classes of drugs. I would say that this is one reason that gave rise to the movement of medical cannabis. I had an incredible physician mentor when I was training to be a specialty nurse practitioner several years ago. He's a world-class neurologist. And one thing he said to me when I was training, and he was so right, he said, "Kim, if you ask the right questions, and you really listen, and if you really, really listen, the answers are there. Patients are the experts of their own health, not us." And this disruptive revolution is a great example of what this really is. The answers of what cannabis can do potentially in the medical space is here. The science behind the cannabinoids is here. We just have to ask the right questions, and we need to listen because the world's watching. Thank you.